I'd like to welcome Aaron Draplin to the stage. Sir.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Does it look okay here? You know,
looking good there, man.
I mean, I don't know who lives like this, dragging me out of bed at 7:30 in the morning. By the way, does anyone know I can get a good deal on some coin purses while I've got everyone listening here? I'm in need of a couple re-ups.
I'll see you later.
All right, everybody, let's quit fucking around here. I've been waiting for this stuff for 6 months. I've been doing meetings I'm just pretending I'm in Vegas. I'm pretending that if they dragged me out of bed, like maybe I had to rip a curtain down in Bobby's room and roll up with that, and someone kicked me up against a wall, and that's where I slept the night. Like, what would we have done the night before? That's what I'm pretending right now. All right. This is finally my chance to get in front of merch people and tell you my story. Okay, is my screen being shared? Someone give me an audible. Can you guys see that? Let me click the little thing. Okay, no, Kate, there you are. Okay, let me see. Select screen. Sorry, I think it was screen 2. There it is. Can you guys see this? Can you guys see this? Someone give me an audible, or just a Kate give me inside the thing. You're good. Okay, here it goes, everybody. All right, you can see that okay? All right, full screen. All right, you guys, this thing is an update from the Draplin Design Company and other lies, fibs, and perjuries. Okay, hello, everybody. Good morning, SkewCon. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bobby, LaHue. It's nice to kind of, at least virtually meet you guys. I wish we could have done this in Las Vegas, but here's where we're at. And I applaud you guys for taking the safe route, and we can still have a good time together. My name is Aaron James Draplin. I'm 48 years old. I'm a graphic designer. I'm in my backyard here in Portland, Oregon, dragged out of bed at 6 in the morning or whatever for Bobby LaHue. I don't know if you know anything about me. Let's just start at zero. My very favorite thing to do is make a logo. I have kept myself busy for years. When you see something like this, remember 97% of these things are just for my friends, and a couple of them that fell through the cracks were for like the big leagues. Maybe, So when you look at something like this, remember, one of these right here made me 25 grand, and one of them I got paid a burrito. Okay. All right. So I don't know if you know of that. I like to make logos. I mean, I hope you know about Field Notes. We are in our 13th or 14th year with Field Notes. And Jim and the gang out in Chicago, we have exhausted the entire French paper line. I made my first sets out here in Portland because everything was so cute and clever and cloyingly whatever, at whatever store I'd go to, I just made my own. And all these years later, we have, every 3-4 months, we're doing another, a seasonal release in a seasonal edition. We have a subscription service, and we're doing theme sets and all kinds of stuff. And really, we get to do what we want, made for us, by our friends, with our friends, just out, in Chicago. That's where our headquarters are. I'm out here in Portland, of course. But all these years of making these Field Notes, I just made my own. And I gave them to Jim, and it turned into a real sort of business. So that's kind of the theme here, is like, I didn't know that you could make your own merch, then suddenly someday be where, the sketchy position I'm at right now. But really where merch started for me was I'm from skateboarding and snowboarding. And we would make our own hats and what did that just happen? And our own hats and our own stuff. And we didn't need any license for it. We just made our own stuff because that's where we come from. The good-looking kids in high school with their the jocks and their teachers and stuff, you had to ask for permission for everything. In the world that I came up in, we didn't know any better. So when I finally got to a point where I was working freelance on my own, I'd say about 2004 or 5, I would make these funny little items simply to give to my clients to say thank you, really, to sprinkle on them. And what happened is, out of that came this world where now, all these years later, and this is an action shot from 3-4 years ago now. I mean, we've lost these weird 2 surreal years to the pandemic, and I haven't been able to go out and set up that merch table in all these years. But we got to a point where here in Portland, we were doing these every 3 to 4 months, these big night markets and stuff, and I would set up all my gear and sell my stuff at a fair price to all kinds of happy Portland people, or taking this shit out on the road and selling this to colleges and things and stuff. So, the idea of like putting your money where your mouth is, making these things and selling them to people, like I've been doing that stuff for years. I hope you know about Skillshare. These are little things where I get to do a little bit of community outreach, I'll say, and teach some of these skills. Like I'm not afraid. Listen, I might not make it through the night, much less be here in 20 years or something. But this, whatever I've learned, I love to hand that stuff off to the next rat kid, we'll just say, right? So I think we're up to our seventh Skillshare video, and these things continue to go. And we have our 8th filming, and I think it's in March. I made a typeface. I am not a typographer, but here's the thing. I'm not waiting for anyone to tell me. I mean, those typographers, they love to tell you that I'm not part of their industry, but who cares? My shit's selling, right? So you can go out and do this stuff, and it can happen. But remember, I'm not a typographer, but I made a typeface, and it's continuing to go. My life in the fall used to look like this. I mean, I know we just crossed over into the new year, but in the fall, my life used to look like this. I was going on the road and doing these speaking gigs, being sometimes the keynote, sometimes, being after Bobby LaHue, sometimes being before Bobby LaHue, whatever the deal was. I got to go to all these things. And the key word is I got to go. Like I didn't, I don't deserve any of this stuff, but it got to the point where I was going all over the world. Listen, I don't even know what language I delivered this talk in here in Bratislava, Slovakia. But look at the crowd. I got them. I've done 450-ish shows. I mean, I heard Mark read my bio, and that bio is about 1.5 years old. It was getting to the point where that year I was going to break 500 shows over these last 10 years. But, everything went on hold, right? Here I am and, throwing out, we kind of steal all the shit out of the backstage. Here I am throwing waters out to the crowd, right? Because, I stole all that shit from the backstage. You're not supposed to do that in Slovakia either. I got to go on the road and tell and share this story and then have this with me. I got to make a book. It was in 2016. I did not get into graphic design to make a book. I got into graphic design to make a living, but they let me make a book, and this thing has sold. I don't know. They told me, a big city, New York, told me, oh, you sell 4,000. That's about it, based on your face and height and weight. 4,000. Well, it's somewhere like 65,000. 5 years later, it continues to go. But my favorite part, it was $40, and the kid could afford it right out of the gate. So it's still selling. Thank you. Okay, and then now we're gonna go back a couple years, and there's a big record scratch. This little son of a bitch comes flying out of somewhere and affects all of us. But see, before that, there's something going. I'm hearing something popping up. What is that? Uh-oh. I'm just going to keep going. If something's happening, just text me, Mark. In the summer of 2018, I moved into my backyard here, right? So I built this thing in my backyard. I have a little craftsman here in Portland, Oregon, and I built this thing in my backyard where, start with a foundation and walls and insulation and stuff. They painted the thing, nothing but the best. We hired nothing but the best. This guy was named Nubs or something. He did the cement for this thing. But, this is in my backyard. That's where I'm talking to you at from right now. Instead of paying big city prices here in Portland, Oregon, to be downtown, to sit in traffic, to do whatever, I work in my backyard with my girlfriend, and we are, 5,000 square feet of resistance against this thing, right? So, yes, now 1.5 years ago, when this date went down and we locked it all down, we're in this backyard, and there's the house, there's a shop, and I have a tough shed I built another tough shed. That's where all the storage goes for like the dry merch, beanies, and things. Paper will get affected out in the weather, but stuff that can handle it out there, I keep it in those tough sheds. There's a big fence. That's where the van parks. That's where Lee's car goes, in a little 10-step commute. My life used to be downtown in Portland. We had a big shop with my 2 older brothers. But we broke up the band. I'm in my backyard. This is where we've been this entire pandemic, but we missed it by about 1 year, right? This is our little universe, 5,000 square foot. So Portland goes into hibernation 1.5 years ago. And so did we. I turned everything off. But instantly was uncomfortable because the pace that I have been so privileged to keep these last decade of going on the road, selling my goods, working for clients, working for bands. I just finished up a project for Chris Stapleton, big country star, and he's trying to keep staying on the road. But man, they're dropping like flies, and these tours are getting postponed and canceled, and who knows? I mean, this is what we have to do. But when I went and I took that break like we all did in lockdown. It was scary, and I haven't done a puzzle in years. I got out my old Tetris. I was playing Tetris. As part of my lucky, I don't know, ability to make a living. I saved everything. So, it's not for a rainy day. It was for a rainy decade, we'll just say. So Lee's making bread, and I got my nails done by my little sister who lives here in Portland. She's an esthetician. She's doing my nails. Things were getting weird. I tricked out, a couple parts on my van because I had all this time on my hands. And yet I was so guilty with that because I have been very lucky to make good use of my time for a lot of years. I murdered out the front of the van. I murdered out the tires. Someone broke my window out in the street, and I fixed the door because I'm not taking it to the Ford dealer for $300 more bucks. I fixed the door. I figured it out. New passenger side. I left a little Easter egg inside for the next person who has to fix that door. They may or may not find this thing that's inside. So anyway, I fixed my door. I had my molars out. I walked in there. I saw this stuff, and it's all just diseased and bloody, and there's guts and gore, and I'm sitting there, and I can't handle any kind of a needle ever. And I'm going in there to get my molar. You should have seen that guy horking the pounds per square inch to get these fangs out of this slop hole I'm talking to you guys with right now. I was carving. I cut the shit out of my finger. I had all this time on my hands, but like I said, I felt guilty because, where I'm from in Michigan, if you don't keep moving, you die in the woods or something. I don't know. I have been so lucky to make a life in design. To take time off felt gluttonous or something. So when I turned it all back on, I had all these offers rolling in from people who needed help. I didn't take any paid clienty kind of work. I just kept getting hit up. So I only took jobs for coronavirus awareness, we'll just say. The first thing I got to do was I got to make a poster for Adobe. And the first guy who got to do one was Shepard Fairey. And then I come slumming from the bottom, in the muck. I got to do one to basically say thank you to this sort of, the grocery store worker. I know there's a lot of heroic talk around frontline, the workers and, nurses and scary things and epidemiologists. And by the way, my uncle thinks he's an epidemiologist. Who knew? Well, I just wanted to say thank you. So, when we go to our Safeway, just, our little supermarket a couple, blocks away, I thank those people every time because, they didn't know what was in the air and they didn't know what was going on and they didn't know. And they were still making things safe for us to, eat. So I would make these little graphics just to say, hey, wash your hands. Like we haven't had so much as a sniffle in 2 years because we haven't been leaving. We've left a couple times cautiously, but I made these graphics and I would just give them out. I mean, there's no paycheck for this other than like being able to sleep at night saying maybe that loosened it up for someone so they would wash their hands and keep themselves cool, right? But that went off the rails pretty quick. And before I knew it, I was just kind of going rogue and making funny little things like this because the news was pretty ugly. And, this has nothing to do with the pandemic there, Bobby LaHue. This is just science at this point. That's just truth. This stands today also. I don't know if I'm going too fast for you guys, but this one's for all the 13-year-olds out there, my nephews and nieces and my whatever, who can't use the word literally right these days. But then, that's just a little something for fun. But here's the deal. When I made something like this is a piece of merch. I apologize, Mark, for the spirited language. I'm trying to keep my cool here. It is early here on the West Coast, but we sold 800 of these and raised something like $5,000 and just gave it to I don't know what we even gave it to. I can't remember, some food bank or something here in Portland. But I use merch and maybe humor and maybe, a wink to, raise some money or move a needle or just, I don't know, something. I try. So that's where we were. Now, when, I'm so excited to speak to you guys, and from what, Mark told me, there's 800 people listening. I have made a world playing with these things. Okay, where are my people out there with the envelope openers? See, I called it the envelope eviscerator, DDC 69. I've sold a shit whack of these things, but I love this stuff because this thing hasn't changed. It's the same sort of feel in your hand. And by the way, I use them every day to open all those big paychecks. I use these things every day. We've used them on the road. If you break it at a certain point, it becomes a little kind of like a little box opener and stuff. But people walk up to my merch table and they kind of poo-poo these things. They kind of walk up and they go, an orange toothbrush. And I just say, you know what? Shut up. Put it in your pocket. And someday you're going to eat those words, or you're going to brush those shitty words out of your mouth, because I'll see them 6 months later and they'll say, you know what? I was on a lonesome road in the West and I didn't have a toothbrush, and your brush rescued the whole weekend. It's like, right. There's nothing wrong with this stuff. If you can make it fun, make it accessible, why can't it be $1 on my website? It can be. When I make these coin purses, where are all my coin purse people out there? When I make a coin purse, I use these for my guitar picks and change. Who even remembers what change is? But I called it the spare change containment apparatus because as a kid, when they would hand you these things, it worked in 1981 when I was 8 years old, had a little beard and everything when I was 8 years old, but it also works in 2021 or whatever, 2022, it still works today. These things don't go out of style. And and on a bigger note, the opportunity to have a message on there, be it saying, hey, come get your tires changed at this place, or, we are the coldest beer in this part of Wisconsin, to open up your beer with these little keys. Like, that stuff still works today, but we're forgetting about that. We're forgetting about that because everything's about a click and a lick and a like and a hyperlink and a TikTok and all that other shit. I know I sound like a boomer right now, but no, business cards still matter. Things that you use, all pencils with your message on it still matter. A pen with your message. Oh, I don't know, some kind of iPad pen. Just think about the shit you're touching all day long. I love this stuff. I have sold like 6,000 of these goofy ass things. Just that stupid unbreakable comb. What are they, $1 a piece, 40 cents a piece? I don't know. I sell them for $2 or $3, $4. I don't even know. The DDC brand hair organizer. Look at that. Mustache maintenance, cowlick control. Anyway. There's an opportunity with all this stuff. And, I built this weird world with this where, yes, these are the goofy things, but I've built this world where it's gone into this, these weird area of trust now, where people come after me and say, hey, you want to do a watch with us? With Timex. Timex watches. This was not supposed to happen. This is not some squeezy ball or some, click pen or something, which, by the way, I love all that shit. This, this is a watch, but see, I was careful to not let this get away from me. These are $90. They are not $900 or some bullshit, inflated thing because I put my name on it or whatever. No, they're $90 and I get them for $42 or something direct from Timex, and I sell them at a fair price. It's a political thing almost. It's like I saw the same exact watch, same packaging, same box, same stuff. I saw the same watch by Carhartt for their little streetwear line in Berlin back when I was going to Berlin once a year. I know, hard life I've had to live, huh? Well, to go to Berlin and see these assholes selling these things for €400, that's gross. I know what they cost. It's $42 or something. So I sell them at a fair price because the idea that a kid can come to my site and get a cool watch, that means way more than some big profit margin or ROI or whatever the hell. I was that kid. I'm still that kid, right? These Rumple blankets. Rumple's this sort of blanket guy. These blanket guys in town here. I got to do a number of blankets, with my graphics, all of them, kind of an outdoor theme. I don't go. Look at that one, 2 DPI. Sorry, but look at this one. It was the fleece version, the DDC brand carcass cover. Listen, if it prints, print it. Right? Had a little gear pocket for your field notes or your remotes when you're laying on the, you ought to see me on the couch all swaddled on this thing, just flossing with this thing, if you know what I'm saying, Bobby. Anyway, there was a little pouch we made for your field notes or your remote or whatever, your some little, I don't know, something, a bowl or whatever the hell, a snack. And we got to make these things, and I think they topped it at $130. I use one every night when I'm watching some Netflix or whatever. We got to make one with all my logos on it. And here's the deal: these things are accessible. It's a celebration of my graphics. I mean, that's the selfish side of this thing. I'm like, I love to show this stuff, but I like the idea that a fan or something can come in there. It's entry level, and by the way, these things are super nice, and they last, and they work. It's one size fits all. It's like substrate. They can, if you go look at Rumple, they can print anything. So I got to go in there and do these things. We're up to like our 6th blanket or something. I did an artist series this year with thick lines and stuff, but these happened. And you know what? I will get out of the way now. I was able to do 6 of these different versions, and I'll jump out of the way because let some other kid come in there and use this. Let her do her thing for a while and sell a bunch of these things and so on. So you need to kind of know when you've worn out your welcome too. Sometimes with these little collabs, but my buddies made a knife company called James Brand, and I got to make this kick-ass little pocket knife with these guys. Like the details. This is a 2.5-inch knife. It goes on your keychain, right? I mean, I've got one at all times, just a couple, 6 inches away when I'm working here at the shop. Because, I'm not using this thing to, cut open some salmon or, disembowel some mule deer or some shit. I don't go outside. I use this to open up records, that come in from eBay or whatever, Amazon, Discogs and shit, right? Like no one's leaving. This is what I use this knife for. But the idea that my friends make these beautiful high tensile things, like this freaked me out that these were $60 because that's a lot for a little pocket knife. But no, when you understand the story, what it takes to make them, how designed, how the beautiful finishing elements and stuff that they have, it becomes this thing. Here's the deal. We got to the point when I would get in 600 or 400 or whatever I would ambitiously buy, thinking, how in the hell am I going to sell 400 of these things? It was getting to the point where we were selling these out in 5 minutes. And I don't know my audience, and I will never take that for granted, but it was scary because 600 would leave in just a couple minutes, So here's the thing. These are back in stock. I've ramped back up. Any profit I made on any of this stuff, I bought more of these things because the idea is this isn't about creating some kind of false narrative of like, some kind of like model of like Supreme, where like the shit's gone right away and all that kind of scarcity stuff. I'm not down with that shit. I know we're in a weird time. The misinformation and the fear behind all this stuff. My mom is 76 years old and she got her inoculation. She got her vaccination, right? And I was going to go do it too. So that's the lead up. And I went and did it, and I was brave, and National Guard were there and the whole bit, and I got it, and I cried a little bit, and there I am through my mask crying. I guess it would have been 6-7 months ago, but I went and did it. But more importantly, I used merch to get that word out there, to ease it, to talk through it with friends who were afraid or were on the fence or whatever. And, these patches and stickers and shit that we made were to lessen the blow, and I mean, lessen that poke. And by the way, just 2 weeks ago, we went and got our booster shot. I was scared. I was getting on the edge of tears, and that, I was in a Walgreens or in a Target Walgreens, and the guy was just kind of like, just shut up, sit down, take the thing. And I did. So the other people were so accommodating, but, merch isn't just for, I don't even know what would the word be, just profit or some shit. Merch can make someone's experience at a scary moment, like the doctor, better, or, someone who's on the fence with this thing, you have a little bit of levity to say, just go get the poke. And then, we're doing our part as citizens. Who are we supposed to believe right now? The CDC or whatever. Well, I believe in our authority figures. I try to. I even had to believe in the ones before Joe Biden, which was scary. But you got to believe in something, So, go get the vax, do your part, be safe. And I know this crowd is a good, thinking, creative crowd. But that's how I used merch these last bunch of years and this little half-assed career of mine. And here's some recent work, and then we'll get you guys out of here. I don't even know how much time I have left. Just come and grab me, Mark, when it's time. I got to make a rock and roll pedal about a year ago for my buddies in Red Fang, my favorite heavy metal band here in Portland. I got to work for a little thing called NASA. You might want to look into them. They tend to, deal in things like scientific fact and, the wonders of the universe. And, when you get to work for NASA, you're on the edge of tears the entire time, because I'm a kid that looked up to the sky, still am. When I was 10 years old, the first time I saw Helvetica was on that space shuttle, and it changed the way that I looked at Lego boxes and everything above and below. When you get to work for NASA, like, there's no paychecks with this stuff. You just donate your time. But that's some of the best work I've ever been able to do, to talk to young kids. And this is like some educational outreach thing about, the atmospheric composition. And with a simple graphic like this, because just to get the conversation going. Field Notes is continuing to, kick butt. We did our 50th set this last summer. We're up to our 52nd set now. We all, the harvest one that came in the fall, always have something new that we're cooking up, and, made with, new sorts of printing processes and embossings. And this time, this was kind of cool because we hired this 65-year-old illustrator that does these incredible illustrations of gourds and stuff. And, he's 65 and still vital. I'm 48. Like, when does this stop for me? Like, this guy's still doing awesome work at 65. I need to see that stuff, right? Making goofy things like this, candy corn hats and stuff. Of course, more rumple blankets. Starts with a simple idea of thick lines and then goes into the actual blanket. We did 3 of those this year. I did a record a year ago for the old 97s. One of my, this band I grew up listening to. I was able to do their last 3 or 4 records. It was so awesome. What a privilege to work with Rhett and everybody. Nicest bunch of guys. And, I love this stuff. Like, people don't know that I love print and how to edit photos and how to tone photos and all that stuff. I was trained to do that. I've been doing all this merch and speaking and making things and working in the backyard, but, I was trained as a print designer. So I miss this kind of world of nerding out. Like, I just finished a record for a band called Old Crow Medicine Show, and a big tour kit for Chris Stapleton, kind of country, kind of guys, and bluegrass kind of guys. But I love doing a record. Danner Boots here in town, did a little collab with the Portland Timbers. I got into the mix. I got to make a bunch of patches and goodies and pins and stuff for the. I'm not a soccer fan, but last summer they did one of my mural. I did a poster, and that turned into a big mural, and that stays up forever at the stadium here in Portland. My buddies come to me and say, hey, you're going to do our 50th little button set for this project called Inch by Inch, which basically raises money for kids, through little buttons and stuff. And they have different designers come in, and, there's no paycheck here other than, like, I got to go and say, hey, whatever your beliefs are, you can look as far as you can look in any direction. And you might be looking at the back of your head, at least theoretically, but if you look at every direction, does the universe go for forever? Or do you come to the edge? And these are theological, issues and matters of faith and matters of science. But the fact of the matter is, we have no idea. And that cosmic reminder, be it in the form of a little funny little button for people to stop themselves and say, hey, we're all connected. We're all stardust. Infinity is a word that terrified me when I was 9, and a catechism and shit, Sunday school and all that. And I would challenge these, I don't know what the hell, Sunday school teachers, and say, you really want to talk about infinity a little bit more, because this is kind of weird, and then I get these messages sent home. Well, shit, at 48 years old, I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around that. And I think that's just the human condition. So why not make a little button to at least remind ourselves how beautiful that is, right? DDC hardware, here I go with these fonts again. But listen, I am not a typographer. But when I went to this big type conference thing, and I was one of the keynotes there, I went and spoke at this thing. While I'm there, I'm selling merch, and this old guy comes up to me and he says, Aaron Draplin, you're not a typographer. And I said, no, I'm not. No. And he goes, but what is all this stuff? And I've got posters and merch and stickers and foam fingers and coin purses and all this bullshit. So I look at it and I go, sir, that's called a poster. You put it on a wall. And he sees where I'm going. And he goes, but you're not a typographer. And I said, No, I'm not. I'm profitable. And then they never really invited me back. But you got to fight the good fight where you can. When I got to work for John Hodgman and do a couple of his book covers, this was the summer edition a couple summers ago. John's in the big leagues, and this is John Hodgman, one of my favorite comedians and podcasters and stuff. And last summer I got to do his Medallion Status book. I think it was maybe 2 summers ago. I can't remember. I've lost all track of everything. In town here, my buddy started a burger place, and I got to do the graphics with these guys. It's turned into a real thing, and it's called Super Deluxe. Kind of like an In-N-Out, we'll say, maybe even better than an In-N-Out. But the coolest part about Super Deluxe is when you go there on a Tuesday today, it's not going to cost you $36. And if you want a beer, now you're up to $42. And you know what I'm saying? It's not a $50 lunch like Portland loves to tout and like people love to stand in line for. It's a burger place with fries and drinks and burgers and just simple shit. And you go there on a Tuesday, there's like construction guys there. Like I appreciate that. I appreciate that like good design is for everybody, not just those who can afford it. It's for the construction guys. Hell yeah. And it's for me. And it's for, I don't know, even some high society, dipshit, whatever. But too many times it's for only those who can afford it. So, we try to exhibit that, when we, in the projects I'm so lucky to work on, and then the projects I invest in, like I'm an owner on this thing, right? And it's a real thing happening. We're getting ready to open our 4th store in the spring now. So 3 years later, it's successful, so I get to do the graphics for them. Little things like this, like, listen, I reached out to these guys that do printing on nameplates. I made these little things. I get them for a couple bucks. I sell them for $9.99, and it's like, you get this thing, $9.99. It sits on your desk, decimal equivalents. My dad used to sell these things. He was a tool distributor. So I made my own, and I've sold, I don't know, over 1,000 of the things in the last year alone, over 1,000. We've done any number of runs of these things. And this is the idea, is like, I see a hole in my life. I use these things hour by hour in my life, made my own, sell it at a fair price, and keep moving. Weird little patches for skulls. Always have new sticker kits coming. When we go out to the coast and hide in my buddy's place at the Cove Cabin, I just did a little illustration of, with the water coming in. And here's the deal. Now this thing is sold up and down the coast. I'm getting people hitting me up that want stickers and patches, and I'm making all that junk of it, right? And by the way, that's where it can just go to. It doesn't just have to be this one Instagram post. It can have a life. You test it there, see if people are down with it, then make a bunch of fun shit. And if you don't sell it, who cares? Donate it, give it away, keep moving, right? Oh man. Coolest thing I got to do this last summer is I got to make a cornfield maze for Topaz Farm on Sawby's Island here in Portland. There's the graphic. That's what it looks like. And then they carved that into the earth. We went out there. It was muddy. We got lost. We were rolling around with pumpkins. It was incredible. It was incredible. My favorite project of the last 5 to 6 years is I got to make a stamp for America, right? And not to sound too academic here, but the idea is everybody, this is a pure democratization of design, not my design. I mean, I'm proud to have worked. I'm a stamp nerd, and I got to work for my country, whatever you want to call it, make a stamp, some Ben Franklin vibes, right? But everyone needs a stamp. And too many times, graphic design and high art and all that kind of shit, like I said, is only for those who can afford it. But a stamp is something that everyone gets to use and has to use. And the love stamps and the cool things and the Marvin Gaye years ago, or the Black History Month. Like, I love that stuff because that's a chance to raise awareness and tell stories on this thing that we all need and can use and afford. And I got to make a couple of them. My first one was called the Star Ribbon. And when it came out about 3 years ago now, we were in Breckenridge doing a talk in Breckenridge, Colorado. And we went down to the little post office there, and we're there and we're doing our deal. And we go into the post office, and I'm on the edge. I know they came out that morning. I don't know if they're going to have them at this little outpost in Breckenridge, Colorado, and they have them. And you can see Eileen here. I say, well, can I get a set of the Star Ribbon stamps? And she, hands them over. And I go, I made this stamp. And she, excuse me, and she says, I said, well, I'm the designer of this stamp. I'm like the tears are coming down my eyes. Like, there they are in front of me. One of my graphic design dreams has been realized, and there they are. And, I got to shake her hand and say thank you and get a big stack of my stamps. But if you really go look at this for 1 second, this poor woman, take a look right here. Can you see, she's holding the set of stamps, but look at this little bit of flesh right here. I speculate she might have had her other hand on some sort of a security buzzer or something, because here I am, this big gorilla crying in front of her saying, I made the stamp that you're selling to me, So anyway, I got to work for my country in a scary time and make something that my mom uses and all kinds of people use. And send junk mail. So they made it. Of course, they made a patch out of it, too. Okay, cautious steps back into normalcy. We'll get you out of here. About a year ago now, Lee and I went on our first trip, and we drove down to the Grand Canyon, and we went outside, and we looked at rocks and thinking about time and space and erosion and what it all means. And we just went to the Grand Canyon, and we just sat there and were quiet and looked for an hour and just sat there and looked out and just we are just ants on this little rock and just thankful to be alive and thankful to be outside and masked up and doing the deal and vaxxed and the whole deal and playing our role and contributing to society, right, and donating money to help people who need help and things like this. This last fall, I went on my second trip with my buddy James Spears, right? James has never been west of the Mississippi until I got my hands on him. So I flew him up to northern Michigan, and me and my buddy James, we went and kicked the nation's ass together. Now, I'm not going to say that we were sharing that little single mattress back there, but, things were getting a little spicy in there. Well, we went all over America together, and I got to show him the West. We went down to Texas. I did a gig down in Texas. It was a little too weird with all the masks and stuff, but we had little skits that we were doing and just fucking around all over America. It was incredible. We saw, this was the summit of the ugly. Saw a bunch of friends. This was outside of Dallas, and saw a bunch of friends like you guys. I've been able to make friends all over the nation from graphic design that will be my friends for life. That came from the travels and came from projects and came from things. We got to see a bunch of animals on the way back. And, this isn't a Waffle House, right? But there's James and I, two men of size, men of extreme girth and circumference, overlooking some of the greatest treasures of the American Southwest. And here we are at the Grand Canyon, and we're walking up on this scene where it's like, oh, whoa. He's going to ask her to marry her, marry him. And the guy gets down on one knee and he just rattles off this like he downloaded it off of some app or something. I think we should take our relationship to the next level. And, everyone's kind of like, come on, man. Come on, up your game. He just does this dry bullshit delivery. And the girl kind of like, she's uncomfortable. She's going to say no. The whole Grand Canyon's looking at her. So that inspired me, and I asked James to marry me, okay? And he's married. He's got 6 kids, turns out, back in Tennessee, but still I asked him to marry me, and he said yes, everybody. He said yes. So anyway, moving right along, I brought my buddy James all the way out. Look at all-weather James Spears, all the way out to Cannon Beach, Oregon. And it's like the Lewis and Clark Trail or some shit. That was fun. Anyway, okay. Merch. Go check us out. Draplin.com/merch. Fieldnotesbrand.com. ddcfonts.com. And my little Moonbeam Lee, who's still sleeping, Notes to Self. Her little project. Listen, her boyfriend is a bit of a graphic designer, but she makes her own little things, and things get a little weird. But go check out Notes to Self. She's got her own little goodies, and her newest patch is called, Bite Me, little something for fun. But that's it, you guys. Okay. Whew. Thank you to Mark and Bobby walking me through all this mess, and all of you listening to this for having me. This one's from my dad, like it always is, and I think I'm right on time. I don't know. I can't tell. If I'm over time, bill me. All right? Okay, that's it.
Aaron Draplin, thank you so much. I think you got our attention here, my friend. I think you got our attention, which is
whoever's going next better be bringing their A game, because I almost died in that presentation.
Well, we're glad you didn't. I don't think our insurance would cover that. But Aaron, I had 2 things to say. Number one, thank you so much for challenging us to think about design and storytelling and products in a different way.
Right out of the toilet.
You bet. And I wish we could have had a couple of hours, and I wish we could have been together in person. So we'll have to make a date for the next in-person SKUCon for you to be raising trouble.
I want to go because I want to go walk and pillage the big show, and we're going to go do things like, you know what the Mo is? You know what, when you mow a trade show booth, we are going to be disrespecting people's angles of conversation by mowing. You're supposed to go around the booth. No. We're going to be going right through the middle of it, like we own.
Go right through it. We're going to go right through it. We'll have to talk to Dale Denham about that to make sure that that's all good.
We're going to go in there. Animals. Anyway.
You bet. Now we have got like 2 minutes left before we are going to move on. But Aaron, I want you to unveil something, a little something. We got a little surprise here for people. Before
I have a weird mole on my side here. Now I'm going to take off my sweatshirt and no. Okay, I want to. Here we go. But take a look at his T-shirt. Right? Take a look at his T-shirt.
Okay, hang on, Aaron. Before you do this, I want to set this up. So we've got a surprise for everyone here. Now, Aaron is a legendary designer, and he agreed graciously to collaborate on a design for a special product. And what I want to say is that we have our dear friend, T. Hamilton, who sadly, tragically passed away a little over a year ago. She was part of the Promo Kitchen chef community and was a huge fan of Aaron Draplin. You can actually listen to the podcast that myself, Danny Rose, and T. Hamilton recorded with Aaron just a couple of years ago. And we created something in her honor. And we're actually going to put this up shortly online for people to buy, where all proceeds are going to go to the T. Hamilton Creative Scholarship Fund. But without further ado, Aaron, unveil.
All right, here we go. So we made a poster. And, it's a little bittersweet because your buddy has moved on to the celestial, the great mysteries of the world. But you can see a T and the Vegas sign there. And I wish we all could have been in Las Vegas and drinking and fighting and merching it up. But maybe next year. But we made a poster. These are lovingly screen printed by animals right here in Portland, Oregon. No different than the way I make posters here. They're all hand signed and all that stuff. So go get one of these. I know it's a little weird. It says, SKUCon 2022, but in the spirit of today, I got to rake Bobby and Mark over the coals because this started out as a T-shirt. And you know what I did? I got them fired up on a T-shirt, and now it's turning into foam fingers, a poster. Bobby's got it tattooed on his back. You upsell. You make one cool thing, you show it working on all the stuff, and before you know it, you got a whole line of things. And I know you guys know how to do that. One graphic can go so many ways, and we got to make a poster. So go get a poster. We're going to ship them right from here, Lee and I, and they'll come right from Portland. Get one of these things, raise a little bit of money for her and think about your old buddy. And I'll go listen to that podcast, of course. But this has been a cool one. I hope you guys dug this. Thank you for having me. I know I've gone over time, but, I hope to meet everybody in person someday. And I just want to come be a camper. I've said everything I need to say, okay? But I want to come be a camper and merch it up. Because when I go to some of these talks I go to, it's a bunch of 22-year-old rats. They're like kids. I'm 48.
Hey, don't talk about Bobby like that. Come on.
Well, I really would like to go to this one because I find ways to take simple things and make them fun and then sell a stack of them and keep moving, So I know that's what you guys do. I know that's what you guys, sell to the world. Keep doing that. Merch is not a dirty word, and anyone gives you any shit for your, the black bristle orange toothbrush, send them my way and I'll give them a couple of choice words. So
I will.
All right.